Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Lucium 3.5 and Bolivar's 2.0 update video. Now in this update video there are a number of things to talk about, but mostly minor details. This update was a lot of smaller details. We improved family trees, we reduxed how army compositions were made by the AI, we changed recruitment offsets, that is part of what the AI thing is. We also increased the price of number of buildings, and also updated a lot of portraits, like I said, family trees, and we also changed around some loading screens and other bits of the UI, which you will see later on in the video. Now there isn't too much to show in this campaign menu, not much has changed unlike our previous updates. However, we have changed the Duchy of Genoa to the Republic of Genoa just to make it more historically accurate, and we have also added this box with low opacity down here, basically just to try to fill in the area and make it look more put together. So here you can see one of our new loading screens and the new loading bar down here. It's got quotes and famous people from the time period, as well as a bit of a background on them and a biography. These were done by Majesty, of course, our new UI and artist developer. Another example of the loading screens, and also you'll see a slight change with all of our branding over here. You've seen this on our Discord server and our ModDB page. This is now also here, and we also changed the Welcome to Lucium Total War events. Now, one of the smaller and first things that we're going to talk about to go ahead and get it out of the way now is the Over Army banner redux, which was done by yours truly. Basically, we went in and changed a lot of the lower quality and old, out-of-date Over Army banner images just to reflect the time period be more historically accurate, and to make them higher quality. So, for instance, this is the French one now. If you come down to Spain, this is the new Spanish one. Morocco also got a nice quality increase. Egypt got their very own, as originally they'd had the Ottomans. And I think Russia is probably the clearest example of a quality improvement. This one is just so much nicer and clearer now, and very much beautiful. Some other notable people that got changed were Austria, slight improvements there, as well as Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and the Safavids, who also had a major resolution improvement. Now, onto the family trees. As you can see here, a lot of the family trees have been expanded and improved upon, mostly in just pure detail format, just to show previous leaders. So as we can see, the French family tree has expanded again, just to include dead relatives and historical people such as King Henry and King Louis, which is all very nice. Another detail improvement here. And we're going to go look at a few other family trees that were changed. So as we can see here, the Bavarian family tree now exists, and there are, I believe, yes, a custom biography trait for Prince Elector Maximilian, and the Prussian family tree also received some more detailing. Now, there were a few other family trees that were edited during this redux. However, there are, in my opinion, just too many to go over, as you basically get the gist of it, and we're going to leave the rest of them for you to explore in-game. Talking about some more changes that have occurred on the campaign map, we have added 6 new princess portraits, so there's no guarantee you'll see any of them from this quick example, but as you can see, princess portraits, there's 6 more of them now. Speaking of portraits, we've also added 50 new diplomat portraits done by your boy. Here is just an example of one of those new pictures, and this redux has also been brought over to Bolivar's, so all of the Bolivar's portraits have been reduxed for agents as well, on top of the ones that have been done for Europe. Now, while we're on Prussia, let's also talk about a thing that has been bugging all of us devs for a long time, and that is the old, outdated nomenclature for the characters in the game. So originally we were using the base game German names for all of the Germanic factions, and those were just so wildly out of date that we eventually decided to change them. And if you wonder why I'm laughing, at the top right of my screen, I just saw out of the corner of my eyes Captain Bog. I don't care if it's like Boglavislav. It is, but Captain Bog made me very happy for a second. But that's not the names we're focusing on here. The names we're focusing on are the German names. So all of the German names have been redone. So for instance, we have George Alexander of Carpathia. A little bit weird that he's in, Westphalia. We've got Joseph of Frankfurt. We have a lot of new princesses on the map, which is one of the reasons that we've added those new portraits. Over here we've got Captain Louis Wilhelm, and we have Louis Hohenzollern, George Alexander Carpathia. We talked about Johann Theodor, Captain Louis Henry, Otto Solms-Laubach, and Albert Henry. A lot of these names have been added. I don't know exactly how many names are added, but I know it was a lot, as all of them got redone. The nations that were affected most by this change are obviously the German ones, so Prussia, Hanover, Hesse-Kassel, Bavaria, and Austria. And Austria, we've been kind of talking about this. This is something I might do later. just to add more Hungarian names into Austria because Hungary was such a large part of the empire. Now, let's quickly talk about some building changes. Now, while you might not be able to see it at the moment, a lot of buildings have had their prices changed. This is just to reflect the new resources on the map, which have caused a massive boon to the economies of pretty much every faction. So to counterbalance this, we have increased the prices of many buildings. And we have also done another change, which is remove the final level of road, being the railroad, and changed it to viaductal highways for Europe. And Middle Eastern factions have received metalled highways as their final tier of road. We made these changes mostly because railroads were sort of out of our scope. They were a lot later in history, and it took ages for people to reach them, so we figured it was kind of an irrelevant tier to be wasting on something that most players wouldn't get to. So that's why we decided to remove railroads. Railroads will be in bolivars, of course, because bolivars is set in the 19th century. However, they've been removed from Europe. Now let's head on to the unit section. Now we have not really added new units to the rosters, with the exception of Morocco here, which has gotten the Tuareg Home Guard Militia. Now the Tuareg Home Guard Militia is a replacement for the generic Middle Eastern Home Guard Militia that all the factions had. We did this just for some unit diversity, and I honestly think it's a very nice change. So basically it's just your standard Home Guard, but Tuareg. And on the subject of unit changes, let's go look at European pikemen. Now the largest change to the current meta right now for units is that we have swapped pikemen's attack and pikemen defense. The pikemen now have much higher defense than they have attack. We're hoping this is going to serve to nerf the pikemen a bit. So as you can see, the Northern Home Guard Militia now have an attack of 1 and a defense of 3, and these Royal Legion pikemen have an attack of 5 and defense of 16. This applies to all pikemen. All pikemen have had their stats changed to hopefully be a more defensive unit, which is more reflexive of the time period. Another unit change, which I am very sad to see go, is we lowered the defense stat for artillery crew. Some of you in the past may realize that our artillery crew has a bit of a bad habit of being really strong in melee, and so we tried to lower that by lowering their defensive stat and hopefully making them weaker. Now, the last thing we have to show on the campaign map before we head into the battles and then eventually the South American campaign is more ancillaries added for the Austrian emperors. So if Austria holds Hungary, Bohemia, Croatia, and things like that, they will be given these ancillaries here: King of Hungary, King of Bohemia, King of Croatia. And if they lose these, I believe they will lose the ancillary if they lose those regions. Just to show the many kingdoms inside of the Austrian Empire, we've added these ancillaries for more details and flavoring. Now, let's head into the battles to show some changes that have been much requested. Now, one change a lot of people have been asking for over the years, and a question that many people have: why do the units fire upwards? That doesn't make sense that the units can fire upwards. So the reason that we had originally made it so that units can fire upwards is because the AI would typically break down if they couldn't fire upwards. They don't really know how to use gun units. However, many people were not happy with this. They didn't like it, so we have removed the ability to fire upwards. And I mean, it's definitely going to look more accurate. So now, as you can see, even though these guys are in range and clearly could fire, they are not firing because they cannot shoot over walls. So this makes walls definitely more of an actual defensive fortification. To sum all of this up, never again will you see goofy men shooting over walls and getting kills by somehow aiming their muskets up. Now, another change we did in the same vein of this is we made it harder to see bullets in the air. One thing people didn't like is they didn't like seeing the bullets because they were sort of curving, based on how the missiles work in their physics. So one thing we did was we increased the bullet speed so that the bullets weren't as visible when they were in the air. And we should hopefully get a nice demonstration of this now. Fire. Yes, you can't see the bullets anymore now. They are still there, just very hard to see, very fast. If we were to slow it down, I believe we should be able to see the bullets. Yeah, I don't know if you caught it, but there was a bullet just flew right by the screen. Yeah, they are considerably faster now. It's really hard to see them. But, yes, now that we've seen these changes, let's go ahead and hop over to the Bolivars campaign and see what's new there. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the future Bolivars and its development. Now, as you can still see on the left, the new factions have not been added into South America yet. That is because there have been some delays with the additions of the factions, basically, just like life delays, things getting in the way. It hasn't been done yet. However, the work is going, it is almost done, and we are very confident by the next update video, all of the new factions will be added onto the map, and Bolivar's development will really kick into high gear. There have been a few changes, and I will speak about the direction that those changes are heading in a second. But as you can see, we added these boxes down here, as well as the new loading bar. New loading screens have not been made yet for Bolivars. We also have new welcome images for Bolivars, including all of the cultures. This is the same in Europe, but again, there's like 7 of those. Don't feel like showing all of them, so you can use your imagination. Now, one of the most immediate changes you'll see over here on the right is we add the legalized slavery and abolition of slavery, new pictures done by Majesty, and every single capital province is going to be starting with the direct control building. Now, there is a planned redux for all of the policies for the different cultures and bolivars, so the Latin American independent factions are going to have different ones. Those are going to be based around stuff like states' rights and federalization inside of the nation. Countries like Mexico, Chile, La Plata, Colombia, all of those are going to have different ones from the Spanish and the French and the British and the Portuguese, for instance. And we're also going to have an entirely separate type for the Mapuche factions, which I will show you now. The Mapuche factions are now going to be given a choice between westernization and the traditionalist edict. Both of these are going to determine the direction that your country goes. They will have different effects. So if you go the route of westernization, people are going to be very unhappy. However, you will get experience and access to gunpowder units. The opposite is true for traditionalist. You are going to have a lot of happiness, but you won't have public health bonuses, and you will not be able to have firearms. So that is the choice. That is going to be the choice here for Mapuche players, and we are still developing the scripts and mechanics around that. Another change that was recently made to Bolivars was a new kind of building, this building being the global trade port. I believe it is not in this version, but it will be in the next update video. The global trade port is basically an indestructible building that cannot be built either, which serves to basically buff the trade of a certain region. So we've put this in strategic regions like Rio, we've put it in Buenos Aires, Caracas, we've put one in Veracruz, Lima, and we've also put one in, I think, Santiago. I can't remember all of them, to be honest. But we've placed them around the map in strategic areas, so this will give incentives for players to go after those cities in particular, because they'll be able to get wealthy really quick off of them. Basically trying to represent the trade coming into certain ports from Europe and to Europe. So to review the plans for Bolivars, we are planning on reduxing all of the policies. We are going to be adding new units to try to increase unit variety inside of the rosters, and we're going to be adding a bunch of factions. We're going to be having a westernization versus non-westernization mechanic inside of the Mapuche tribes, and we are also going to be reduxing the ships. So, anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. Again, everybody, thank you for supporting the mod. Gonna say that at the end of every video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, join our Discord, go download the mod on ModDB if you have not done that already, and Mythic out.